Yo, what is up, guys? Today, we're going to be diving into the exact reason why you've been stuck for the last couple of months, maybe years, decades. You can't get past 3 pull-ups. You've been trying a meal plan for ages, but it's just not allowing you to shed fat. And we're going to give you the exact reset protocol that you need to finally get in the shape of your life.
So here's what's really going on. You're trying to follow fitness advice that is not designed for your life. Perhaps you're listening to some 21-year-old who doesn't have a normal job. They don't have kids. They don't have to commute to work. They don't have any allergies. They don't have any dietary needs that you have, which is why you are feeling stuck, because you are trying to follow a fitness program and mold it into your life where it's just not going to work for you. And the worst part about it, guys, is that no matter how hard you try, ultimately you'll end up failing. And then what happens? They'll simply blame you. They'll say, you're just not putting the work in. You're not grinding enough. How the hell are you supposed to grind enough when the advice that's given to you is never going to work? It doesn't fit your lifestyle.
But here's the thing. You are not the problem. No matter how they try to fix it and paint this picture that you're not consistent enough, you're not dedicated enough, it's not you that's the problem. Because the reality is, you're a 30-something professional who has already built a very successful career. You've built a successful family. You've got everything else in your life that is going your way except for getting into shape. So clearly, it's not a lack of willpower. It's the fact that the system is just not yours. So now that we've addressed that you're not the problem, we're going to be talking to you about the 3 key things that we're going to do in order to solve this issue. But before we do that, we're going to show you exactly why a generic plan is not built for you.
So let's go through a scenario, guys. You download the supposedly perfect program for you. You follow it to a T. Hey, even your friend follows it to a T. 6 months later, 3 months later, whatever, your friend loses 15 pounds. You put on 2 pounds. What the hell has gone on? We're going to show you exactly why generic programs do not work for most people. The fact of the matter is, a generic program is meant for generic people, but you are not a generic person, right? You're probably not 21. You probably don't still live at home with your parents. You probably work a normal 9 to 5 like most other people here in the world. We're here, City of London. Everyone here works a 9 to 5. I still work a 9 to 5. He still works a 9 to 5. He's a family man. We're not normal people, guys. So why the hell are we trying to learn a system that's designed for normal people?
So to demonstrate this, I want to talk to you about one of our clients, Lauren, who's a midwife and a single mum of 3. Now, she had tried all the cookie cutter programs for the last decade and had never been able to drop the weight that she dreamed of. And the reason for that was because her schedule changes every single week. She doesn't know what her shift's going to be until a couple of days prior, right? So when that becomes a problem, she can't plan out exactly how she's going to fit the program into her schedule. So as soon as that happens, she then falls off. Right? She does 1 week where she's on program. The next week, she just can't stick to it. And so she just goes into this all or nothing mindset where once she fails, she's like, this isn't for me. And then just stops altogether. And because she's a busy mom of 3, she ended up skipping these workouts, not doing them at all. And that really bugged her, right? Because it made her feel like she just wasn't cut out for this. And we've seen this 1,000,001 times with loads of parents, loads of corporates, because ultimately your schedules just are not designed for you to not miss a workout. You need flexibility.
So to summarize, the main problems with generic programs from all of the conversations that we've had with people over years, I've actually had to write them down because there's so many. Number 1 is schedule reality. Shift work versus 9 to 5 versus early shifts versus late night shifts. It's going to be hard, right? Lauren's a midwife. We've got people that are in the police force. We've got people that are just at home, just chilling most of the time of the day so they can work out for 4 hours. But the fact is, most people, they can't abide by simple 9 to 5. I'll just work out at 5 p.m. Well, I'm working till 10 p.m. at night. So how the hell am I supposed to do that? Or maybe I work super late at night and then I come home around 11 or 12. All the gyms are shut. Then what? Number 2 is energy patterns. Perhaps you're working a super busy, laborious, 15-hour shift. Are you really going to have the energy to stick to a 2-hour workout 5 times a week? Probably not. Number 3, which is a huge one, is family constraints. I know Isan, as soon as he had his child, he was still trying to stick to the same schedule of working that he was used to before his child was born, which simply led to diminishing returns, and he actually ended up losing a lot of strength within a short amount of time. Here's another one, food constraints or even food preferences. You're trying to follow dietary advice from someone who's a carnivore eater, but you're vegan. You can see that's just simply not going to work.
And also, we're in a day and age now of loads of fitness influencers who are roided up to their neck. So trying to take nutrition advice from someone who is diced all year round because they're pumping steroids into their body is not going to work for someone like you.
Number 5 is experience level. Now, this is one of the ones that pisses me off the most. You're trying to get fitness advice from someone who's a genetic freak, who's been good at this thing since they were 4 years old, and they're just simply trying to tell you, oh bro, to learn a muscle up, you just do it, you just pull really hard, without them realizing that to you might be at such a beginner level, like we were when we started, well, you don't even realize how you can kind of depress and retract your scapula. So they're trying to give you top level advice when you actually need things broken down to the simplest level. And lastly, we have injury history. Now, generic programs simply cannot take into the matter of the fact that you might have an injury, because if they did, then they just would not be able to prescribe to you any workout whatsoever, because chances are you might have had an injury in the past that still bugs you, which doesn't allow you to do certain exercises, which a generic program is not going to accommodate to.
So how does a personal approach actually differ? Well, it starts with your reality, right? So whether you're a shift worker, whether you're a family person, whether you're a CEO or an executive, the workouts actually fit to your schedule. So to give you an example with Lauren, again, being a shift worker, being a midwife and being a single mom of 3, she needed that flexibility in her training. So rather than trying to fit in 3 regimented workouts at very specific times in the week, what we did instead was look at home workouts that she could do on her days off when she wasn't on shift, or if she was doing a night shift, she'd then do it in the day when she had the actual time, right? So that she could stay consistent for more than a week at a time and actually get real results. We've had other clients, for example, who are top executives, run multiple businesses. Again, their time is very limited, but they are a little bit more in control of when they can actually dedicate maybe 20 to 30 minutes. So rather than focusing on big 60-minute workouts like your traditional 22-year-old would, we focused on 20-minute highly effective bodyweight workouts that they could do even in their office. And onto the point of food, it's actually less about what you're eating and more about the habits that go behind the eating. So if you're someone who's super busy, who's struggling to keep their head above water because you've got 1,000,001 things to do, your emotional eating is going to probably come into play more, right? You're going to be wanting to snack more after a busy day because you're feeling deflated. A generic plan does not build that into it, right? All a generic plan will give you is, well, these are the 3 best meals that are going to help you shed body fat, but it doesn't tell you the timing of that food, how to actually prepare that food, when to actually eat that food. All of those things come into play as well. And that is what's really holding you back. It's not about the knowledge of what food to eat.
So I'm going to give you 3 questions where the answers are going to give you more clarity than you've ever had before. So grab a pen, grab some paper, write it down, as this changes everything. Number 1 is, what is your biggest constraint right now? When it comes to constraints, we can break them down into a few categories. Number 1 is time. Do you have 20 minutes max to work out, or do you have 60 minutes? There's a big difference there. Number 2 is energy. You need to realize not only when in the day you feel more energized, perhaps it's in the morning or it's after work, but you also need to realize, realistically, can you work out if you're working 12 to 14 hours per day? Number 3 is knowledge. And this is one where you really need to be honest with yourself and put your hand up and admit it. There's no shame to it. Perhaps you have no idea what the hell you're doing with your nutrition, your mindset, your training. There's no shame in admitting it. So write that down. Another one is motivation. Perhaps you like to always start super strong and then you simply peter out after 1 to 2 to 3 weeks. And lastly is consistency. Perhaps you know deep down within you, you can stick to something on a consistent basis and you're super disciplined, but it's actually all of the external factors that end up messing up your consistency. Perhaps you have work dues that mean that you have to drink 2 to 3 times a week. You have a family, whatever it is, just write it down. Number 2 is your pattern break, which means, when do you typically tend to fall off? Perhaps you tend to fall off at weekends. I know when I first started working out, Monday to Friday, I was super consistent. Friday pops along, I'm out drinking with all the city boys. Come Saturday, Sunday, I'm spending the whole weekend hungover, come back to working out on Monday, and I just wasn't making the progress that I wanted to. Number 2 is work stress. Sometimes for a lot of people, you get to Friday, work is just way too stressful, which is actually why you end up drinking. But you need to write this down. You need to figure out, okay, is it work related? Is it stress related? What is it? Why do you keep falling off? Another one is social events, right? We're not saying to be boring people, to never go out, to never drink, to never do the things that you enjoy doing. But perhaps there's one particular thing out of all of those that mean that you keep failing. Perhaps it's the drinking. Perhaps it's drinking one specific beverage of alcohol. Perhaps you end up smoking too much. Whatever it is, right? Maybe there's your favorite pizza chain that you keep going to. And after that, that's when you tend to fall off. Another one is life chaos. Perhaps your child is sick very often, which obviously means that you need to prioritize them. So just really try to write down and really try to pinpoint where exactly do you tend to kind of fall off the bandwagon and everything starts to go down. So I've actually just been kicked out of the sport and we've been told to move 200 meters. Make that make sense. I don't know, London. Anyway, straight on to number 3 is you need to write down your previous wins, because it's not only important to realize kind of what your constraints are, where you tend to fall off, but also what actually works for you and what has worked in the past, because we want to follow a proven system that's worked already before. So perhaps you felt stronger following a particular training style. Perhaps you felt stronger working out after work. I know for me, as soon as I had to switch to working out in the mornings, I just was not seeing the results and the progress that I desired and I used to get before. So I ended up switching back to working out after work. Of course, this one sounds obvious, but perhaps you feel like you had way more energy eating clean food. So perhaps that's something that you should probably do before, right? And last one, maybe you stick to something way more frequently when you have accountability on your side. And what this means is it allows to build from what has worked before and not from scratch. So adding all these 3 things together, essentially you're building out the equation to future-proof your success going forwards. So here's an example. Perhaps you do not have the time to be working out 4 or 5 times per week for longer than 30 minutes. You add in the fact that you always fall off at the weekends. You love going for drinks on a Friday night with your colleagues, but you realize that that is when you tend to see the results go down. And you know deep down that you only really tend to work when you have the accountability on your side. So you add all these 3 things together. And what that means is that you need short workouts, you need flexibility around your weekends, and you need frequent check-ins. This diagnosis reveals exactly your solution that you need to break through your plateaus.
So one of the most common reasons why people, when they find out exactly what this blueprint is, they fail is because they try to implement everything at once. That's just not going to be realistic, right? For example, when you were a baby, you didn't learn how to run straight away. You learned how to crawl first, then to walk, then you learn how to run. And the same thing has to be applied here. We cannot expect you to just suddenly throw yourself in the deep end and hope that you're going to be consistent for the rest of your life. So we're going to show you what we have named the minimum effective dose strategy to help you start making one small step at a time towards that dream body. So you may have heard the rationale that it takes 21 days to form a habit, but what we're going to do is we're going to use a 2-week time frame, and that's because we have found in our practice that you can speed run this. The way you're going to do this is you're going to pick one thing to implement into your life. That can be a very simple thing like a habit, to drink more water in the day, for example. Maybe it's to do 5 minutes of stretching in the morning. Whatever it is, I want you to pick that one thing and I want you to stay consistent with it for 2 weeks. Once you've done that thing for 2 weeks, you can then add on your next thing, but only if you've been able to do it for 2 weeks. So to put more color to this, I'm going to give you 3 examples. Number 1 is if you want to try and lose weight, what thing can we do for 2 weeks that will help us get there? Well, the simplest thing is to maybe add in more protein to your meals. Okay, but what does that actually look like without us having to maliciously track our calories and find out exactly what we're eating on a day-to-day basis? We can simply just look at the plate that we've got in front of us and divide it into 3 major parts. We can look at our protein, our carbs, and our fats. And all we have to do is shift one part of the pie towards protein. That's the only change we're going to make. Now, that might actually look like just having a fistful of, for example, chicken breast rather than having what you currently have. Okay, so if we can stick to that change for 2 weeks, then we know that we've implemented more protein into each meal, and that should start allowing you to feel more satiated and effectively help you curb the need to snack. So number 2 might be strength, right? Maybe you really want to start this journey because you want to get stronger. Well, what's the easiest way for us to start building strength across the period of 2 weeks? We can maybe use something that's called the Grease the Groove method, which is very, very simple. Let's take, for example, a push-up. Maybe you can only do 5 push-ups right now. All you're going to do is every time you get a spare 5 minutes throughout your day, you're just going to do 5 push-ups. Very, very, very simple. You're going to do that every single day, so that by the end of those 2 weeks, you would have totaled up hundreds, maybe even 1,000 push-ups by the end of it, right? But the idea is that you've actually contributed towards getting better at push-ups by doing them more frequently than you have ever done before. And all we've done is we've just found small pockets of time to actually do those push-ups in, rather than having to dedicate our entire workout to getting stronger, right? So we don't need to go from 0 to 100 and do an entire workout just to get stronger. we can simply just do one exercise and do it frequently. And example number 3 might be that you're trying to recompose your body of more muscle and less body fat. Well, the simple answer to that is to take the 2 previous examples and combine them. So we're going to eat more protein on a daily basis, and we're also going to be active on a daily basis. It can be as simple as that, guys. For 2 weeks, that's all you've got to do. And then once you've mastered that for those 2 weeks, you can start adding on more things. You can turn the push-ups into push-ups and bodyweight squats. You can turn the protein into more protein and maybe smaller plates. It doesn't matter how you do it. The point is that you're taking one small step at a time rather than going from 0 to 100. Now, the reason why we're trying to do this is because we're trying to slowly build positive momentum, okay? This isn't about getting the result in 2 weeks. Because if you're trying to brainwash yourself and make yourself believe that you're going to be shredded in 2 weeks, well, you're just lying to yourself, right? This stuff takes a bit of time, but it starts with positive momentum. So we need to inject that into your day. And once we're there, we'll then able to scale that up slowly to get you to where you want to go to. Okay, so now that we have discussed exactly why the generic plan doesn't work, how you're going to create the blueprint, the equation for you to succeed, and then the small habits that you can start doing for a 2-week basis to make ways towards your goals, we're now going to actually audit your week, okay? So where this is going to begin is to simply start tracking what you do on a daily basis. For this to work, you need data, right? We can't just put our thumb in the air and hope that someone's going to tell us the exact answer for why we're screwing up. You've written down what comes to mind. You've put down the habits that you want to start building, but now we actually need to see how it fits into your real, actual life. So from day 1, what we're going to do is we're going to write down simple things. We're going to track simple things. We're going to write down what time we wake up. We're going to track when we actually have our breakfast, our lunch, our dinner. We're going to see what our mood is like on a day-to-day basis. We're going to see what gets in the way of us actually getting in those push-ups, those air squats, or whatever it is that you chose, right? Because once we have that data and we can extrapolate it from day 1 through to day 7, we have an actual system where we can design the things that we talked about before, those 2 weeks where we actually want to be consistent. We can design that now into your real life rather than just hoping it will work. So for the next week, I want you to track the following things. Number 1 is what time do you actually wake up versus what time you plan to wake up. So maybe you told yourself, okay, well, I'm starting this journey. I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m. But in reality, you actually wake up at 6:30, right? Want you to write that down. The next thing is, when do you have consistent pockets of time? The only way you're going to know that is when you're actually living your life, right? So when life throws curveballs at you, when do I still have that flat line where I can get some time in? Even if it's 20 minutes, it doesn't matter, but you need to make sure that you know when that is. When do interruptions typically happen? Okay, so if I'm looking at my week to week or my day to day, when is it that I'm actually getting interrupted? Maybe, right, the kids are starting to throw a fit at 5 p.m. Okay, maybe they need a feed, whatever it is, right? You need to make sure that you know when those interruptions happen so that you can actually identify what to do about it. When are you most or least likely to have energy? Okay, are you someone who has lots of energy in the morning? Maybe you follow this new plan, you actually do end up getting up at 5 a.m. and it feels great, right? Maybe you've got loads of energy. Or maybe you try that and it's not working, and then you actually have more energy like Sam found in the evenings. You need to know what that looks like, okay? And when does chaos usually strike, right? When does something happen throughout your day where it completely throws everything out of whack, okay? Maybe, for example, on a weekly basis, work gets super stressful at around 8 p.m. Maybe you're on the trading floor, right? Maybe shit goes and hits the fan like at a certain time in the day, okay? You need to know when those things happen and if there is a pattern associated with it, because until you know what that is, you are simply just guessing. The key with this first week is to not change anything. You're just observing. So I want you to take a step back out of the shoes that you're living in right now and just write down those things when they happen, because all we're doing now is painting a realistic and actual picture of your life.
Next is designing around your own reality. So if you're a shift worker, perhaps you should be creating 3 different variations of your workouts, some that are longer, some that are shorter, some that are harder, and some that are easier. This will give you the flexibility such that you can stick to your workouts on a consistent basis. For those of you that love to travel or have to travel for work, I know what it's like. You travel for work, your hotel says it has a gym, you turn up and you're like, what the hell is this? It doesn't even have a pull-up bar. The workout is absolutely tragic. The gym itself is smaller than my bathroom. Hey, I don't care. I can do calisthenics. I can do home workouts. I don't even need to go to the gym. I can just stay in my bedroom upstairs, bang out some push-ups, some squats, circuits. The point I'm making, having home workouts if you'd like to travel will be the remedy that you need.
Now, for those of you that are parents like me, you'll know that the reality of trying to stick to a workout plan is very, very tough. So instead of trying to go with the grain, you can always try and make your own grain, right? So for me, for example, something that works really well is training when my daughter is having her nap, because I know that I'm going to get an hour of dedicated time for me to go and do something that I need to do for myself, right? I'm not going to try and do my workout when she's awake, or for example, first thing in the morning when I have to go and get her ready, because I know it's not going to happen. It's just unrealistic. So you have to have a look at when those times, those pockets of times when your kids aren't actually going to be a distraction for you. Capitalize on those times, double down, and actually make those times your time to train. And just like for those that are traveling for work or love to travel, you can just carve out yourself 3 different variations with 3 different lengths of time and different intensities. Okay. So for me, for example, I know the bare minimum that I need to get done is probably in about a 20-minute pocket, right? Equally, like I say, if my daughter's gone to sleep and I know she's going to be in bed for an hour, I have a workout that I can do, which takes an hour, right? So it's never just one size fits all. I have different variants, and I highly suggest as a parent, you do exactly the same. Oh, one more thing, which I think a lot of you guys who are parents will really love, is get your kids involved in the workout, right? I do the same. My daughter's only 11 months, but that doesn't matter. I just get her to sit with me. I train. I pick her up in between sets. We have a good bit of fun. I sometimes throw her up in the air so that she has fun. And the most important thing is that she's watching me train, right? She's learning that this is something normal for her parents to do. And look, I've coached hundreds and hundreds of parents before, right? And 9 times out of 10, the ones who make the most success, the ones who get the most gains, are the ones who actually get their kids involved in the workout. Because if you're using your kid as an excuse, I'm sorry to say, you're not looking at this deeply enough, right? There's 100% a way of doing it with your kids. You just have to figure that out. The next most important thing is to plan for disruption, because let's face it, life is dynamic. Things change from now and then. Maybe you're going on holiday next week, but you don't actually know what you're going to do whilst you're away, or how you're going to bounce back to your normal routine when you're back. So having an idea of, for example, these 3 different workout options, right? Enabling yourself to still get progress done, enabling yourself to still get workouts done and make even the smallest amount of progress when life isn't as it always is still a massive win. You've got to remember, guys, this is the long game, right? We're not playing to win in a matter of 2 weeks. We're playing to win in the matter of months, maybe even years. We're doing this for life, right? So at the end of the day, you have to also remember to sometimes zoom out and take a pinch of reality, right? You're not going to be able to get results to the same degree when you're on holiday in Barbados, you know, having cocktails or whatever, as you are when you're back at home in your normal swing of things. That's absolutely fine. What you do need, though, is a way of being able to still make ways towards your goals, even if it is only 0.5%, right? That's the important part. So make sure that you have those options for the workouts. Make sure you understand how to eat properly whilst you're away without derailing all of your progress, and you will still be able to enjoy your life. Now you know how to diagnose your problem and how to start actually making ways towards your dream body, right? We've been able to audit your week. We've been able to set habits that you can actually stick to for at least 2 weeks and then build upon. And we also have ways of planning for disruption to make sure that we can keep making progress even when life throws us a curveball. But the reality is, a lot of you guys watching this video are going to understand every single word that Sam and I are saying, but you're still not going to do anything with it. You're still going to sit on it. You're still going to let life get in the way. You're still going to let the kids dictate what you do with your time. You're still going to let work stress you out, and you're never going to actually make ways towards that goal. So for those of you who are actually serious about it, right, watch this video and think, yes, I really need to take action on this. This all makes sense. We've got something special for you guys. We have a free implementation call where we will personally help you strategize to get you from where you are right now to where you want to be. In the call, we're going to dissect everything that we discussed on this call today and give you the rationale from a third perspective, right? Not just from your own, but also to offer you that bit of advice that maybe you haven't already had. And then we'll also be looking to build out that long-term strategy with you so that you can finally make a breakthrough. But listen, this implementation call is only for people who are genuine action takers, right? We want you to be able to come out of that call knowing exactly what you're going to do, but not just sitting on it. Again, we want you to finally take action, take life by the reins, and actually achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So we need you to come prepared to this call. Watch the video back, write down everything that we've asked you to write down so that you can bring it to the call and we can get straight to work. And be prepared to take the next step to actually put the things that we discussed on that call into action so that you can finally have the breakthrough.
So let's not waste any more time. Click the link in the description below to get started today.